Good morning, it's day 11. And it's 11 degrees according to my husband's weather station. How appropriate. My regular breakfast today, porridge or oatmeal depending where you live. With raisins and cinnamon. Put a few walnuts on top. And be indulgent and have a trickle of maple syrup, because why not? And some soy milk. I also have some, what do they call it? Flora Udo's Omega 369 oil at the bottom before I put the porridge in. So it makes it look kind of oily, but it's good for my skin. So I like to add it in, and it doesn't really taste too much. I'm very much stuck into this book right now, called The Binding Room by Nadine Matheson. Set in London, in England. And the main protagonist is a detective in the serial murder squad. Is that what they call it? Something like that. It was rather funny, actually, because as I started to eat one of my meals yesterday, I was reading the first couple of sentences in this book. And it was kind of gross. Talking about a dead body. Nearly put me off my dinner.
I am going to spend a little time in my sewing room today because I have had an idea. So I went shopping yesterday for fabric, as you know, if you watched yesterday's vlog, and I bought something sparkly. I had a couple of choices, but there aren't too many fabrics with glittery bits on, and I'm not a huge fan of glitter as a rule. However, there's a special reason for this. This is a pretty pink through to turquoise ombre fabric with silvery rings all over it. And when I saw it, I put down the one I had in my hand and I bought this instead. This is a quilting cotton. And what I bought to go with it is a twill. Now, this is a poly cotton twill. I don't usually mix my fibres either when I'm making a bag. I do like cotton, but I like the weight of this. It's a little bit heavier than the cotton. So it's a good base for a bag. And it goes really well with the fabric I've got. I got a zipper, although it's not quite as dark of a turquoise as I was hoping, but they didn't have a darker shade. And just as a little bonus, which isn't actually anything to do with the bag, I bought these glittery flamingos. There's a reason for those too. So as you may or may not know, if you follow Little Drops of Wonderful, you'll have seen that she runs a few make-alongs each year. And every year she does a Dodgy bag make-along, which I always join in with because I love making bags. And it's always a lot of fun. And there's prizes and all sorts of giveaways and chat in the Ravelry group and all that sort of thing. But at the moment, she's got a Strictly Sockalong on at the moment. And because I don't watch Strictly Come Dancing or Dancing with the Stars, and I don't usually make socks, I don't really feel like I can participate, which makes me a little bit sad. So I don't participate with the Strictly Sockalong, but I thought there was a way I could get involved, and that was by offering a prize. I have Ali's address from years ago when I sent her some chicken fabric, just because I know how much she likes chickens. She also likes lobsters, and she also likes flamingos because her family has this little tradition. She has a festival that her family invented that involves flamingos. So I'm going to make the bag as a prize for her to give away in her Sockalong, and I'll send her the flamingos just for herself, just for fun. And to make it even more about her, I am going to use her Dodgy bag zipper pouch tutorial, which she published back in 2020. And it's really funny because you look back at people's vlogs from 3 years ago and you can see how much they've changed in the time. At the time, she had really, really black hair, and it's such a contrast to what her hair looks like now. It was almost a shock to go to revisit the tutorial and see how different she is now. But of course, as we know, we all improve with age, so it's all good. So I'm going to use her tutorial to make this bag. I will send it to her and she can give it out as a prize when she needs one. I couldn't find my notes from when I made it before. I've made a few versions of her zipper bag and also her drawstring bag tutorial. And I am going to have to switch the camera off now so that I can go back to her video and check out the measurements for what I have to cut. I reviewed Ali's video and I have made a note as to the sizes I need to cut and the other things I need to do to be ready. I have my zipper ready. Let's get that label off it. We don't need that. I've got my top of the outside fabric. I've got my bottom of the outside fabric. And I grabbed this out of the stash because it's the right color. It's got a little bit of bling to it. That'll make a good lining. I also need to change my thread because I've got pink in here from the last thing I made. Interesting. This is a cotton. I don't buy many cotton threads, but it's just the right color and there's lots of it. I'm going to use that. Oh, is it just me or do bobbins go nuts with their threads when you're not looking? You turn around, you come back, and your neat and tidy little bobbin tray has threads flying everywhere. This is just one of my boxes of threads. I have 2 more as well. I'm going to use my brain today. A lot of the time, if you piece the outside of a bag, it might change the size in relation to the lining. Now, Ali said she used a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which is a bit small in my opinion. So I am going to be doing a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on these. So I'm not going to cut my interfacing and lining till after I've seamed the pieces together to make the outers. And I was going to do it so that the turquoise segued into the turquoise base, but I prefer it that way up with the bright pink because it's darker than the blue. And it makes a nice contrast against the turquoise of the twill. I'm also going to do my little loopy handle first because That way, hopefully, I will not forget to include it when I sew everything together later. Pretty. Yeah, I think probably the best thing to do is sew this and then fuse my thermolam on afterwards. The polyester content of the twill definitely makes it behave slightly different to the cotton. I think maybe it's got a tiny amount of stretch that the quilt cotton doesn't have. Hopefully it'll look okay. My outers are fused onto the thermolam. Maybe not quite as smooth as I had hoped it was going to be. I'll steam the heck out of it when it's finished, so hopefully that'll be fine. I also cut 2 little tabs for my zipper. I should probably think about that next. Now, I don't know if you've heard of this product, but it is amazing. Called Wonder Tape. It's expensive. However, if you are hesitant about getting zippers in straight, it works brilliantly for that. Okay. Now in Ellie's tutorial, she doesn't actually cut this metal stopper off. She just cuts off some of the tape. I'm going to get rid of the whole stopper. This is far longer than I need, so I've got lots to spare. This is always a bit of a gamble as well. Getting the zipper tab on straight without some crappy stitching, because you're going over the zipper. It's not perfectly straight, but it'll do. Now I can trim this and add a tab to the other end, and I just realized I screwed this up because I didn't take the puller off this end and put it on and leave it on this piece. But that's okay. I think I can put it on after the fact. Well, that was a rookie error. When I trimmed my zipper, my puller was on the wrong part of the zipper. So I fiddled and fiddled with it to get the puller back on, but I couldn't get it exactly lined up. So I ended up unpicking the tab I'd already sewn and making sure my zipper was all lined up nicely and then re-sewing both ends. Oh boy. Okay. All right, my Wonder Tape is on and I've peeled off the backing. Now I can stick it down on here. My lining pieces are cut. And I wasn't going to do an inside pocket because this is quite a busy fabric, but I changed my mind. So I decided I wanted my pocket to end up about 6 wide by 4 deep. It's just going to be a slip pocket on the inside. So I've cut it 6.5 by 8.5 to allow for folding it and for seam allowances. My slip pocket's ready to go. I positioned my pocket 2.5 inches down from the top and then 2.5 inches in from the sides. So a little tip for when you're sewing in your zipper all in one go, you could do one side of the zipper and then sew the lining on the other side. But when you're sewing it on and you don't have any interfacing on the lining, it has a tendency to stretch. So I'm going to make sure that it's on the bottom as I'm sewing it on. The zipper's in. And those little pink zipper tabs look kind of cute against the turquoise. So I'm glad I did the colours that way. So I did the top stitching a little differently today. Most tutorials tell you to top stitch all the way across, or at least as far as the end of the zipper tab. But I've had problems with that before. When you open up these bits and start sewing around to close the whole bag up, sometimes the top stitching just makes it not sit very nice over on the sides there. And I didn't want it to get in the way. So I've sewn across where I already sewed the zipper tabs. I sewed right over that stitching, along, over that stitching and along. That was a bit of a struggle on the edges where my bag outer and bag lining met. Oh, and I just realized I probably forgot to open my zipper. I hope I left it a little bit open. If not, it's going to be interesting. No, I didn't. Another rookie error. I made some dumb mistakes today. And this is why we call them dodgy bags, folks. Now we're back to the fun part, birthing the bag. This point is where we see whether we, got thread sticking out. This point is whether we see whether we've matched up our seams in our boxed bottoms and on the sides. It always looks nice when they match. Oh, pretty good. But the zipper tabs are what I'm really concerned about. What I have learnt to do is to check it well before sewing up a hole in the lining, because it's no fun having to unpick the lining just so that you can fix something. Not 100% happy with how it looks at the end there. What what I might do is I might just go back in and trim the seam allowances on those parts, see if it sits better. Well, I have a broken needle. I just wanted to do a couple more stitches on the side of that bag where I wasn't 100% happy with it, and it must have hit something I didn't like, so I'm going to have to put a new one in. These are the needles I like. All right, she is done. I had a couple hiccups, I have to say. I think it's cute. The lining looks pretty, and there's a little slip pocket here or whatever you want to put in it, and there's a little handle. The size of the fabric was about 11 by 11 approximately at the beginning. So once you've boxed your bottoms, obviously you lose some height. Let's see what it comes to. There we go. So by the time you've done 1.5 inch boxed bottoms on this, the size goes from 11 inches tall to more like 8. It got chilly down here. I had to put my sweater on. Okay, so she is done now, 100% done. I tried using my machine to embroider a stitches and slapdashery label, but it didn't work too well. So I have just used one of these cute little tags that I bought from Amazon a while back on there and sewn it inside the bag. So we are now officially completely done. I'm looking out the window and it's sunny right now and windy, and I know there's a lot of cloud around, and there was mention of possible rain later. I think I might go up and have a quick lunch and maybe get outside for a walk.
It's the evening and I'm on the couch. After my sewing, I had a quick snack of some fruit, and then I went out for a walk. And as I was coming back from my walk, my husband was coming home from work and happened to be driving by and picked me up, so I didn't have to do the last little bit. So then I cooked dinner, and that is done with, although there's probably some cleanup still to do in the kitchen, but we'll try and forget about that for now. And I'm all stitched out for today. I've done my quota. So I'm back on the couch with my book. And that's how I'm going to spend the rest of my evening, I think. I'm halfway through it, and I wouldn't be surprised if I finish it tonight. I'm as up to date as I can be on my editing. I've just got to add this little snippet to the end of my video for today. So that won't take long. So I'll say goodnight. Remember, I really appreciate hearing back from you and knowing that you're watching. So if you can click the like button or subscribe or comment, I'm always happy to see that. Just lets me know there's somebody out there and I'm not talking to myself. Because, you know, there's a joke in this household that Mum talks to herself an awful lot. So I just need to let my kids know that I'm not just doing that all the time. So bye for now. I'll see you soon.